Hi, I'm Ellen from Zellen English. Welcome to our next business English course on interviewing. I do have 8 years of corporate experience working in the financial services industry, where I was a hiring manager, so I do have experience conducting interviews and, more importantly, selecting candidates. Today, I will show you how to really shine in your English interview, whether you are interviewing for a fully English position or you just have to pass the English portion of an interview with a Korean company. I'll also share some important cultural tips around interviewing and how you can make your best impression. And then we'll go through the 5 most common interview questions and how you can answer them in English. I'll even provide strong opening sentences you can use and formats that you can plug in your own answers to tailor your questions to your own experience and to the job interview. Let's get started. First, let's talk about cultural differences in Western interviews. So a firm handshake, good eye contact, smiling, and even making lighthearted jokes are viewed positively in Western interviews to show confidence and likability. First names are almost always used between colleagues in the workplace, especially in interviews, even if you are interviewing with somebody who is much more senior ranking. So for example, if the hiring manager's name is John Smith, and we actually joke in Western workplaces that so many people are named John, you can just say, "Hi, John, thank you for having me today." You don't have to say Mr. Smith because it actually comes across as a bit too formal and it adds distance. Next, personal branding is the intentional and strategic practice of defining yourself as a business professional and how you want to be viewed. So, how do you establish your own personal brand? Well, the easiest and most straightforward way is to make a LinkedIn profile. And depending on your field, you could make an online portfolio, but usually a LinkedIn profile is enough. LinkedIn is actually a great place to search for jobs also because most corporate professionals are on LinkedIn and a lot of hiring managers will share a post if their team is hiring. It's also completely appropriate to message a hiring manager on LinkedIn if you're interested in their position and you have questions. Recruiters and hiring managers will often Google your name and search to see if you have a LinkedIn profile. So having just a basic profile with a professional photo and your work experience can help a lot to build trust and credibility. First, let's discuss some general tips on charisma, likability, and making a generally good impression in your interview. So most importantly, focus on portraying your experience, your professional expertise, and your confidence over grammar perfection when you're speaking English. Chances are the interviewer will be able to tell that you're not a native speaker, and that is completely okay. Western workplaces really value diversity, so usually people are used to having colleagues from all different backgrounds and at different language levels. So just try to show who you are and what you'll bring to the role, more so than worrying too much on having perfect English. The interviewer will not be bothered by occasional grammar mistakes or awkward sentences, so don't let that hold you back from really shining in your interview. Also, as a cultural note, in Western workplaces, confidence is usually valued over humility, so don't be afraid to let your skills and your accomplishments really shine. Also, when we get to the interview questions section, I'll show you how you can answer questions in a way that shows off your accomplishments in a likable way. Next, let's talk about some tips for preparing for your interview in advance. I recommend always speaking out loud when you practice your interview questions. This will make you feel a lot more confident when you're speaking English because you'll have practiced it over and over. And your English will flow much more smoothly when you get to the real interview. At the very least, make sure to practice a stellar introduction to show off your greatest accomplishments and your best experience that you can use in any interview situation. Next, record yourself practicing interview questions. Now, I know that it's really difficult to watch yourself speak and to hear your own voice, but it really makes such a big difference. You'll probably notice small habits or things that you do that you don't like, and so you can correct those things right away. You might notice awkward mistakes or habits that you have while speaking that are easy to correct, but you won't know that you're doing them unless you record yourself speaking. And then very important, always remember that the company is assessing you and what you will do for them. So, all of your answers should not just highlight your experience, your expertise, and what you want, but also tie it into how you will fit into their team and how you will be a good candidate for them and what they are looking for. Because the person who will help them the most is who they are going to hire. Also, company research is so important, so I recommend going into your interview knowing the following things. You should definitely know the company's main business lines and their approximate geographic location. Like, do they only have offices in your country or do they have offices all over the world? And you should be able to find that information easily on your own. Next, and this is very important, especially in Western work culture, read the company's values. Usually the values will be on the company's website, and if you read them and you mention them in the interview, then it makes you look extra prepared and like you're really interested in their company. Oftentimes, hiring managers will be assessing whether they think you are a good fit for the company values. Also, we use the word fit a lot in business English. A fit means that you are suited for this role, like you're a good match. So they want to see, are you a fit for the role? Are you a fit for the team? Are you a fit for the company and their corporate culture? Next, to prepare for your interview, I recommend checking out a website called Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is a website where current or former employees of a company will go on and actually rate the company and discuss their experience. It even includes a section on interviewing where candidates will talk about what the interview experience was like at that company. They'll also put reviews for specific positions and even what their salary was. So this is a gold mine of information that you can find if you are interviewing for a Western company. Next is making sure to research the position as well. I recommend rereading the job description right before you go into the interview so there's no surprises, and then also reviewing your resume right before you go into the interview because there's a chance that you have something kind of old on there and the interviewer might see it and ask you a question. So put those things fresh in your mind right before you go into the interview. And make sure to know your resume very well and be prepared to talk about anything that they ask about your resume. Now let's talk about how to really shine in your English interview and what to say. I'll go through the 5 most common interview questions in English and give you plug and play answers on how to answer these questions. So plug and play basically means that I will give you a sentence where you can plug in your job title, your company, or your position and use these exact sentences in your interview. And trust me, while some of these might feel a bit long or maybe a bit advanced, these are very good answers that you can give in your interview that will make you sound professional and natural. Let's get started. So the first question is, tell me about yourself. This is the question that almost every interview opens with, and it's basically just your self-introduction. So you can also use these sentences if you are preparing for the English portion of a Korean interview as well. So first, start with your current role and work backwards, meaning start with who you are as a professional and what you're doing right now. So here is our plug and play sentence. I'm currently your role in your industry where I focus on your main responsibility area. So for example, I'm currently a project manager in the financial services industry where I focus on helping our technology team implement their projects. Very strong opening statement. If you want an alternative, here's another similar one. At the moment, I work as your job title at your company, specializing in the area of your area of specialization. So a full example, at the moment, I work as an accountant at Goldman Sachs, specializing in financial forecasting. And then after that, of course, you can go on to talk about your main accomplishments, but you can work backwards if you want to talk about your position before that. I recommend summarizing your biggest achievements that you've had throughout your career and anything that is most relevant for this position that you're interviewing for. And then at the end, if you want to, you can say your degree or relevant certifications that help you in this role. Here's a plug and play sentence if you want to talk about your experience before your current position. Before this, I spent X number of years in your industry where I achieved your achievements. So, for example, before this, I spent 5 years as an internal auditor where I became a team leader and got experience leading people. And then if you want to go a step further and talk about your early career, here's another sentence you can use. Earlier in my career, I worked as a financial analyst where I gained experience in forecasting. Then after talking about your experience, this is a really good time to bring up your degree and any relevant certifications. So I could say, my background is in accounting and I do have a CPA license. So while it's not stating the degree specifically, to say your background is in something often implies your early career experience or your degree. And they'll be able to see on your resume what your degree is. Next, to finish off your tell me about yourself question or your introduction, you can mention a couple of your strengths and your passions and then what has led you to applying for the current role. And for your strengths, you want to show what you're really good at and what motivates you. So here is the plug and play sentence. My strengths are strength 1 and strength 2, and I enjoy using them to how you create value with your strengths. So my strengths are organization and communication, and I love using them in the projects I lead to create value for the business. And then you can say, I'm especially interested in what you're interested in because it allows me to, what does it allow you to do? And that's why I'm so interested in this role. So you've just tied in your strengths and your passions and what you want to do into the job that you're interviewing for. For example, I'm especially interested in financial forecasting because it allows me to have a positive impact on the future of the company, and that's why I'm interested in this role as a forecaster. And then you can really drive it home further, meaning further show why you are here and why this role fits into your future as a professional and why you're a good fit for the team. So you can say, that's why I'm excited for this opportunity. It feels like a natural next step to apply your skills to this role. For example, that's why I'm so excited for this opportunity. It feels like a natural next step to apply my financial experience to this role as a financial analyst. This role is a strong fit for my experience and for my long-term career goals. So that's how you can answer your self-introduction question or tell me about yourself. I know it's long, but that is the perfect opportunity to start so strong and really showcase off your skills and why you're there right at the beginning. Now let's get into the next question. So one of the most common interview questions is, what are your strengths or what are your weaknesses?